What's up, nerd geeks and gamers alike? It's Nerdy Nick, and I'm back with another video. And this time, I'm going to give you guys an exclusive listen at my panel that I had at Game On Expo 2019 with Jeffery Whittenhagen of Hagen's Alley Books. If you don't know who Jeffery Whittenhagen is, check out his website at hagensalleyBooks.com, and I'll post the link below to his shop. Jeffery makes amazing collector's guides and compendiums for the NES, SNES. One is going live for the Switch here pretty soon. And they're really great collector guides, as well as little snippets of each game in a brief description. So in our panel, we were talking about the retro-ness of the Nintendo Switch being modern. For example, games like, The Messenger, or Shovel Knight, for example, and just what it's like to collect in a modern day setting for a console like the Nintendo Switch. We get a little off topic every now and then, like any panel would. Unfortunately, we didn't have a moderator, we were just relying on ourselves to stay on topic. There's plenty of fan interaction and crowd interaction with questions to be had. So without further ado, guys, here is our panel. It's audio only, so you don't have to look at this ugly face too much. So take a listen, enjoy, and thank you for subscribing, guys. I really appreciate it.
With a lot of the Switch games especially with like limited run, the reason why we're waiting on some of those games to come out is because they want to have complete editions on the cartridge, because they don't want to have to be reliant on digital downloads later, because I mean, at least limited run, out of all of them, limited run's all about preservation versus just limited stuff.
Right,
their idea is
limited just because.
Yeah, their idea is preservation. It's only limited because you don't have so much cash to do the orders.
Exactly.
Like, they round up to the nearest 1,000 or whatever, what they do. And they'll bring them here, or because they're set up here today. And
Right.
Yeah. And I missed out again. Double Dragon 4.
Oh, yeah.
They didn't have it, the limited edition version. I missed out again. At Portland, like, they put it aside for me, and then I forgot to go back over after my table.
What's the one you regret missing out on the most?
For limited?
Yeah.
That was it.
Yeah?
Yeah, because I've gotten pretty much everything else. Like, I missed out on the ukulele, but then I was able to get that later. Like, I've gotten stuff later, so.
I've wanted to get the Night Trap.
Night Trap?
I missed out on that one, and that's the one I regret the most. It's a terrible game. Yeah.
They have a limited one here.
Do they?
At the limited run, so yeah.
Okay, I'll have to check that out.
Yeah, so yeah, we're just doing a little pre-panel banter. Because
we time yet?
We were literally like literally we were like, so we only have an hour, like, oh, so we can we could go the rest of the convention and talk Switch, like.
Is there There's a vendor booth here for limited now?
Oh yeah, they're literally set up. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, they have a lot of limited stuff here. I was looking through it. I'm like, they actually have copies of Curse of the Moon, the NES version.
Oh, no way.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Yeah. I was fortunate enough to be in a line at Disney and refreshed and bought it live. Jeez. I don't know how. I was in Disney, like, waiting to go on Expedition Everest or something with my daughter, and I'm like, oh, bye. No phone, just to refresh unlimited run games, to buy it, because, pre-ordering that stuff is halfway a nightmare sometimes.
Oh, yeah.
And so I just go regular editions because they have the open pre-order system for Switch, which I dig. Yeah. All right, so now we can kick it off. Yeah. All right, so welcome to the panel. This is the Switch collecting as a retro gamer, like retro on the Switch.
Retro modern.
Retro modern.
Retro.
And there's some weird stuff that goes really down the rabbit hole. So I'm Jeffery Whittenhagen. I'm an author and publisher. I've published books and games. So I brought my Hidden Gaming Gems book here. I'll show it for the video that Nick's doing too.
Yeah.
This actual art is from 1992 by the guy who actually did the art for Power Blade. He drew this in 92. It was unused. There's a game, Night and Grail, in here that I used as an aftermarket 64 game. But this covers all the way from Pong all the way through the Switch. Of course, you can't predict what a hidden gaming gem will be on a modern console. Right. But as I'm writing now, I'm writing the Switch Collector, which is going to launch 10 September. If you go to Switchopedia, like encyclopedia, switchopedia.com, and you can actually see the preview page, which will then be the launch page. Launches on the 10th, the week before the Switch Lite goes out. So I figure that's a good time to launch. It's going to cover the first year, Volume 1. We're going to go all the way through the first cycle. It's going to cover physical titles, digital-only titles that we want to see a physical release for, and everything down the rabbit hole. So JP from JP Switch Mania is on there doing collectors, if I can get him to write. Yeah. He's like behind the power curve right now. I'm like, dude, we're about to launch. You got to be done writing. So doing that, though, I've come across some craziness, though, when it comes to, retro modern. So I was asking you earlier, have you ever heard of a game called Soldam? You know, the Soldam game that's in the first year of the Switch. It's physical release, has a little fairy on the front. Looks like it might be like Wii-style shovelware. So it's a weird game. So researching, playing it. It's a 1992 arcade game in Japan only. Yep. And now it's a re-version, a remastered version, a new version on the Switch.
Right.
So right from year one, they were already jumping on the retro revitalization is what I've been calling it.
And obscure.
Yeah, and it's super obscure. Nobody knows what Soldam is, but apparently it's a extremely popular game in Japan.
Yeah.
So it's just it's just a puzzle, falling block puzzle game where you're matching up lines of colors across the way. So you can sit there and you have to deal with a lot of junk on the screen, and then you got to sort of start clearing things out as you make combos, because it hits you ever play Othello, old school Othello. So it does that with them. So when you match up dissimilar colors, not the same colors, but different colors, it'll swap all the colors out too, so you got to kind of plan. But it's it's apparently super addictive in Japan. And it's on the Switch. We had the whole Wonder Boy Dragon's Trap that came out, where you can hit a button and go right over to the Master System graphics, which is still looks beautiful in HD.
And the music too.
And the music too.
Yeah, you can switch that too.
Yeah.
Which is awesome. I like both versions. That's the problem with some stuff like that. We were mentioning Curse of the Moon. I mean, that's essentially a spiritual successor to Dracula's Curse, Castlevania 3. And you can switch all your characters on the fly. You can decide whether you want to kill them or not, which is really cool.
How short it is, man. I love that
game. It is cool, though.
Yeah.
It's meant for multiple playthroughs, though.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So you still haven't done. You need to do your speech, Mayor.
I haven't even told anyone who I am.
Hager.
Yeah.
That's what I said. You got to do your speech. You got to tell them who you are.
Putting me on the spot. I got my friends here and all.
Got Stan.
Yeah. Okay.
Were you invited?
No.
You from Street Fighter? Marvel vs. Capcom?
Marvel vs. Capcom. Saturday Night Slam Masters. Final Fight. 1, 2, and 3.
Just don't do your special move. You're going to knock your camera down.
I know, right?
There we adjust it. Look at that.
Yeah. And a beautiful face.
Pro.
Yeah.
It's a pro.
Ooh. So, gathered you all here today to talk about something very serious. Metro City's under attack, and I need your help. You see, there's this new gang in town called the Drifters, and they're breaking all the damn Joy-Cons. And it's up to us to make sure we stop them. There you go. That's all I got.
I said you needed to change the Mad Gear to Mad Gear Games, though.
Mad Gear. I forgot about that.
Still classic.
Yeah. So, anyways, I'm Nerdy Nick. I stream on Facebook. I'm partnered with their Level Up Gaming program. So I'm partnered doing that. I don't stream on Twitch, so don't ask. I get that a lot, actually. And then I have a YouTube channel under the same name. And you can find all my social media under the same name, NerdyNick_91. Aside from doing that, I obviously cosplay, and I play my Switch all the time, exclusively handheld. I rarely play it docked.
Yeah, it's few and far between with the family for me to be able to actually play it. And now my daughter's 7 and only plays Minecraft, and I can't even get my Switch now. 'Cause if you ever look, like, you have the parent app where you can track your hours, and you can actually see how many hours you play games every month, and it shows it. It's like Minecraft every time.
Oh, yeah.
I'm like, of course it is.
Yep.
Yeah, it's like when the Switch Lite comes out, she's getting the Pokemon one. She wanted the Pokemon one. So I'm like, she's going to get that. That's literally it.
Ooh, this is squeaky.
So one thing is everybody knows that a new Switch version came out, right?
Yes.
So it does not have a new battery.
No, but it has.
They touted a better battery life. What it does have is a new processor. The new processor inherently is making games better, though. So Doom and Skyrim both play better. There's something that it has called dynamic resolution. So when, everything hits the fan when you're going through and running through a level in Doom, the resolution drops a little on some of the enemies you're going versus. It doesn't do it on the new Switch.
Yeah.
So that's something that Nintendo might have wanted to market, that, hey, some of our games may inherently be a little better when you play.
Right.
I just, maybe they don't think that they want to admit that maybe some of their games didn't optimally run initially.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Right.
But the retro stuff doesn't apply to that anyways.
Exactly, yeah.
But it is something cool to know that, like, we mentioned it on the Switch Mania Playcast on our Troll and I episode.
If you don't know, Troll and I is a horrible game.
Yeah.
Very glitchy.
It wasn't as bad as I expected. I expected it to be really bad. And when I first booted it up, it was. Because it was like moving like this. And I rebooted my console, and then all of a sudden it played okay, but like a PS2 game. Like old school game. Yeah. That's what it played. It's not modern. It's like PS2 glitchy. You got to kind of line up. Like there's an icon that would pop up, and you got to like maneuver the big hunking troll. And yeah, we're doing Mario Tennis Aces right now this week because it's free.
Right.
So like we might as well touch that so everybody has an opportunity to play it with us. I was trying to level up on the plane. I kept on dying on these damn challenges. I'm not good at Mario Tennis.
I'm not either, and I want to be, and that's what makes me frustrated.
Yeah.
I noticed I kept banging on the table there. Probably not do that because
Mike,
we're
Hager,
recording.
Mike Hager. Always fun. So what other kind of retro titles? Because we talked about a little Curse of the Moon, of course.
Right.
We had some mention of the Mega Man Legacy Collection,
right?
Which I think is the excellent thing where we're seeing collections come out, because we had the Namco pack that came out. SNK collection was excellent.
Capcom beat 'em up, Bubble.
Yeah, there you go. Yep.
So what do you guys think about the Capcom physical releases where half the collection's on the disc, or half of it's on cartridge, half of it's not? Or same getting physical releases in America, I believe this is
Well, didn't they do the same thing to Final Fantasy X when they...
Final Fantasy X.
They had 10 on the cartridge, and then 10-2 was digital only.
Yeah.
And they also did that on Bayonetta in the stateside. Not Japanese, but on the stateside. Now, that's a soapbox thing for me. I hate that. Absolutely. And there's another section in my Switch collection called Foxicles or Foxicles, like fake games. So you got your Wolfenstein 2s and stuff that is literally on the shelf that says no download code. Like, what?
Why do you even have a case?
Yeah, like I could understand like an indie developer, like maybe Sydney Hunter, where they don't have the funds because they're an indie company and they do a case. Like I would absolutely support them, CollectorVision, doing that.
Right.
And then like, hey, y'all support us, we will, and you get download code in there, and then we will do a physical in the future.
Yeah.
Like that's a double dip all day. But like when a big company like Bethesda or somebody's doing that, it's like, come on now.
On a game that's like especially known to sell, you can cough up the money as a corporation to make another cartridge. And there's even cartridges that are out there that can hold both games or both halves or whatnot, like Resident Evil Revelations.
Yeah.
I think 1 and 2. The 1 is on the cartridge and the second isn't. But it was like proven, or there was I can't remember the size of the cartridge, but all Nintendo had to do is just pony up. Or no, not Nintendo. Capcom had to pony up just a little bit more
per car,
to put it on the cart.
Price.
I think the reason why they did that is because we have GameStop here and a lot of resale. Compared to Japan where they don't really do that as much. So it's by making it a digital only, they kind of like tie a ball and chain to you.
Right.
In that you can't, sell the game back in its entirety.
Yeah, that's a good point.
It's very interesting too, yeah. And I mean, there's another soapbox topic besides for actual non-physical physicals. There's also those that do a super expensive collector's edition with exclusive games on it. So you have the Darius and then the newly announced Space Invaders collection. That's the one. So the Darius one comes with all the cool little mini marquees and stuff.
Yeah.
And there's one game on there that's not on the normal edition that you can get, just the regular limited edition. And then same thing with Space Invaders, and I think they're over $100 or $200 or something. And I'm like,
the tiered
holding it
collector's
hostage.
editions. Yeah.
So in other words, in order to get that game in a playable fashion in the future, it's going to cost collectors more.
Right. And like for a game like Crash Team Racing, it's understandable for Sony to have the exclusive retro skins because that was originally a Sony property, you know, and then the Switch to not have it. So that's understandable, but like having a unlockable game, but you have to pay extra for it in this giant thing is silly. It's very silly.
Well, yeah, that's a modern thing where instead of actually having unlockables via skill, you have unlockables via money now.
Yeah.
And it's...
Yeah.
And when it's like developed later, kind of like what Breath of the Wild did, I'm okay with that when they develop it later. But if it's already inherently with the game at launch, it's kind of like, okay, you're just trying to milk a non-complete experience to add a couple extra bucks. And we see that a lot less with retro games typically, but like it still happens, and it's frustrating.
Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah. As a matter of fact, I think what was one of the Mega Man collections was half on cart, half download.
Oh, Legacy, yeah.
Legacy,
All through 6 was on the cart, and 7, 8, 9, 10 were downloads.
Yeah.
One thing I thought was funny though, the downloads, the code expires in 26.99. The year 26.99.
Really?
Yeah. It's just like they expect the Nintendo servers to be around.
Yeah.
That's a Mega Man reference, though. It should said like 26XX or something.
Right.
Like, it should have like 26XX.
Yeah.
I actually do that for my for some of my books. So I do the Super Nintendo. I had homebrew in there, and I put 19XX or 20XX in there for some that aren't out because they're not out yet, and they still aren't out. Like Justice Beaver, that isn't out yet.
Well, look at how many times they put a fictional year in something. Everybody expected Back to the Future 2 technology to be here. We can't even do a hoverboard yet.
Yeah,
We're getting close.
I'd rather just be XX.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
That's true. We're already past it.
Well, as far as like Capcom's releases, I think the reason why they're doing like half on, half off is because like the individual collections for the other systems would normally be $20, but because of the Switch tax, they would be $30. They don't want to charge more for the Switch version.
Yeah.
You know, because between the two of them, it would be $60, and they want to be able to sell it for $20, just like the other systems. And they know that digital is essentially there's no cost of producing it.
I mean, that's the truth.
Yeah.
There really is no physical production on there.
There's an actual tax on owning a Switch.
Well, no, it's like disc-based. Like to print a disc costs pennies, whereas to produce the cart, they have to go through Nintendo, and it costs extra money. That's the extra like $10 basically. Probably cost them $5 to make the cartridge or whatever, and they add 10 to that because you have to do. Actually, it's supposed to be the law of 3 when it comes to production. But yeah, you're basically paying extra for all the Switch stuff, and I find myself like, if anybody listens to the Switch Mania Playcast, like I don't collect every Switch game. I collect what I like and individual pieces. Like even when Limited Run puts out stuff, I'm not buying it. I'm going to buy it if it's something that draws me and I want to play.
Right.
And that's how I have to do it financially, number one. And then number two is like, I'm just going to have stuff that sits on my shelf that I'm never going to play because I'm not interested in it. It's like all the different simulator games. Every time JP talks about collecting that stuff, I'm like, really?
Yeah.
like, oh, I got the next farming simulator. Oh, great. And like, tell me how that is when you don't play it.
and that's like one thing, being a collector, there's some people that collect to have the entire collection.
Entirety.
There's other people who collect what they're going to play. And that's me too. Like, I will buy a game that like either my kid's gonna play or my wife's gonna play. I'll throw it in my collection even though it's not mine, but someone's playing it, and that's the purpose I think of a collection nowadays, because you have to be financially realistic.
Especially with how much the Switch library has exploded. over the last couple of years with all these limited companies coming up. You had the Warren Collector debacle where they kind of folded after taking everybody's money, and everybody's going through contacting PayPal 10 times so they get their money back real quick.
Right.
Because that's the only way to get it now. It's classics. But I do want to touch upon stuff like getting a complete retro package for the Switch when you buy your games. So just recently, Guacamelee 1-2 Punch came out. Has tons of awesome treats inside. It drives me nuts when companies don't print on the inside of the case. Since it's clear, they don't. Guacamelee did. They have a manual in there. They have a poster in there. There's tons of treats in there. Nicalis is probably my favorite. I like subsets. So like the Play Asia limited editions that they do. Besides for the Penny Party one, I'm not putting that on my shelf. 7-year-old daughter. Not with a 7-year-old daughter. But Penny Party's not happening. But I like the Play Asia limited releases. I like the Nicalis stuff that they've done. And if you go on their actual website, you can buy all their launch editions. So like their Umahari Kawase, which is a Super Famicom platforming game where you use this like fishing hook lure, and it has this awesome like mechanic that you use that's almost physics based. They have a new version of that out there, and it came in a Super Famicom box that's like a recreation with the fresh name on it. And it's a 1-for-1 because I have the Super Famicom version, and it's like awesome because it's like right next to each other. It just shows the love that they have for the system and all the games. It's amazing.
One that I like a lot is it's a modern game, but it's a retro modern game.
Retro modern?
Or modern retro.
Modern retro?
Whichever way. Tomato. Is Sonic Mania. And the version on the Switch is great because, Nintendo was humble and made that reverse slip cover.
So the
Genesis cover.
You see what they did with that game, though, right? They released when it first came out, a huge collection edition that was with a giant Mega Drive Genesis with Sonic on it.
And it made a noise.
Had a download code in it, but they held off until all the DLC came out and put it all on one cartridge as a Plus edition. They didn't mention that's why they did it, and it frustrated a lot of gamers. And they should be. It's like, man, why aren't they putting the game in with the collection? But then they did an awesome slipcase holographic on it.
With the art book.
And did it right at the end. So it's real interesting how they did that. And you see a lot of companies kind of jumping on that bandwagon. And that's another modern thing where you get the version of Mortal Kombat X, and then you get Mortal Kombat XL later with everything on one disc or one, so we're going to see that with Mortal Kombat 11, where they're going to have all this stuff, and they're going to release a Mortal Kombat 11 version. That's why I'm waiting on the Switch version.
I was a day one sucker on that.
Well, my wife got it on the PS4, so
that's what I did.
My wife did it on the PS4. I did not buy the Switch version. I'm going to hold off till all the patches are out, and we get a complete edition of Mortal Kombat 11.
That's what I'm doing with the Crash Team Racing. I'm just waiting.
Same thing.
I heard it's buggy still, so I'm waiting.
Well, and that's the other thing as a collector. Anything that's big from a big company, I always wait for because there's sales. So that's the other thing is I get like JP where he buys everything launch day, but then that $60 game is $20 in 6 months. And you're not playing every game immediately when you buy it. You might as well hold off and just get it later.
It's like buying a new car. You pay sticker price, but then as soon as you drive it off the lot, it depreciates like $10,000. You just wait a little bit.
And the other aspect is what's going to be collectible for the Switch years from now? That's the thing. So I've been kind of milking things from JP where I'm like, hey, have you thought about this before? I did one thing where a lot of people don't know, they're on military installations, they do special challenge coins. Bethesda's huge about it. So there's an actual challenge coin for Doom. And that's actually part of, the series. So is that part of a collection? Is that something people might want in the future? Talking about promo boxes, the Horizon game, the racer that just came out, there's a whole promo goodie box that was sent out for that to a lot of YouTubers. That might be something that's kind of obscure in the future.
I really want that.
And that's the kind of stuff that I think is going to be the more obscure stuff, because if you collect something with the intent to collect it, it's not going to be collectible in the future. If it says collector's edition on it, it's probably not collectible.
I can show you how many booths out there that have collector edition games in the $5 bin. Just doesn't matter. It's just...
And so making something limited doesn't necessarily make it rare, but it's the demand for said thing, because that's why Mario 3 or Contra can still boost a huge price tag when you're getting a CIB.
Right.
I mean, the boxes for Nintendo games are expensive because everybody threw the boxes out.
Yeah.
Now nobody throws out the boxes because they're like, oh, it might be collectible in the future, and it's like, well, that's gonna make nothing collectible in those terms. But the stuff like the limited releases, I think those are gonna be still high in price.
Oh yeah.
Not necessarily collectible per se in the terms of that, like what we're saying, like you can't find it at all, like a Nintendo World Championships, but it's still going to be something like that.
Yeah.
There's other stuff, like I've seen, there's NX cartridges for developers out there, because the NX was what it was called back in the day, and that stuff's out there. There's a lot of obscure things that exist that I think are going to be the collectible pieces in the future. The kiosks.
A dev kit.
The kiosks. I just want a kiosk because it looks cool, let alone. I don't know about like some third-party like accessories and things, because with the Wii, we saw the flood in the market.
Yeah.
But like with the Switch, like there's some really cool stuff out there. I mean, heck, I'm going to try to do as much cool stuff as I can with every Kickstarter. I have a mini arcade that I'm doing with one of them, and then talking with the guys out here that do the really awesome ones. I'm like, hey, in the future one, you want to do a super cool one? You want to do a super cool one in the future? Like, don't care whatever you charge. Like, it'll just be there because it can happen.
Right.
And that stuff would be truly awesome.
Yeah, I think for me, even more important than DLC being on the disc, it's like future releases that have all the patches. Especially when there was like some kind of game-breaking bug on day one, like a day one patch, but it wasn't on the cartridge, obviously. So, for like greatest hits releases, they include patches. So that's really important to me personally.
Oh, that's extremely important, well, especially when it's in terms of preservation. And then not only that, but you have the all game on cartridge. So if you have a game and it requires a damn 10 gigabyte download when you buy it, like it's not all on the cartridge. So then in the future, when the Nintendo Network's down, because they obviously take the Nintendo Network down a generation later or two. It's not going to be available to download. So then you're going to have a half game that you can't play.
And that's a problem with, unfortunately, a lot of these, like the SNK collections and whatnot, that are all digital. Once it gets pulled, it gets pulled.
And I mean, now the thing is, let's be honest, it'll still be playable. Hackers, modders will make sure that it's still playable. However, it's not going to be playable without modification, which is like, well, if we want to play it inherently how the developers intended, it's not going to be able to be done. And that's kind of where it's give or take. And that's where I actually support different types of preservation like that, because you almost have to. Otherwise, we can't play stuff.
So that kind of reminds me of how people were selling off, like, I guess their PS4 systems with the PT demo on it.
Yeah.
After that was taken down. That might become more of a thing in the future with certain games that are either all digital only or require big gigabyte patches to play.
Yeah.
And especially like, if you think about it with Nintendo, with the smaller storage, and then they're going to have all the different variant colors, you're going to have like ones like that with the exclusive game that's taken off the marketplace. I'm thinking Mummy Demastered, it's a matter of time before they take that off. Because they're going to lose the license, and it's going to have to come off the eShop eventually. It's a gem.
Yeah, it's a great game.
It's a better game than a movie.
Yeah. It's the opposite.
It is. It's pretty awesome, and that's going to be one that I will cover, obviously, in the digital only, that needs a physical release. It'll never happen, but it needs one.
Shantae got one, right?
Yes.
So WayFor's not opposed to
but I'm pretty sure it has to do with licensing.
Universal.
Yeah.
And
it's just weird though to me, like some games that are like critically like acclaimed when it comes to like reviewers just don't get a release. And I mean, you can't have everything on a cartridge either. They're trying to milk us off for all our money, but it's one of those things too where like even me, I'm like, man, I can make better releases than some of the stuff that's coming out, and like I do have released games of like, man, maybe I should just jump into the Switch bandwagon. But it's what I know how much it costs for that stuff too. And if I don't do the cartridge production and buy the cartridges, I can just do an expanded release.
Let me ask you something.
Make it old school collecting. That's what it is.
What do you think about Capcom bringing back like Resident Evil 4 for the nth time, does that take away the old school collecting aspect of having it originally on like the GameCube?
I actually think it'll make the allure having the first release, especially like if they add something to it. Just putting Final Fantasy VII on the eShop to me does nothing.
Right.
If they actually add something to it, which they added quicker grinding and things, that actually gives it a gimmick. That gives it a click. So if you want to play the original Final Fantasy VII with no temptation, you play it on PS1. If you want to play it with the different modifications where you can speed up time so you can grind a little faster and do all of that, then you can play it on the modern consoles.
Gotcha.
And I kind of like that kind of stuff when they had a gimmick. Now, Resident Evil 4, are they adding anything like that? No. That I'm not aware of. If it's just a one-for-one port with no graphical enhancements, then I'm kind of like, well, what's up?
That's what Resident Evil 4 did for GameCube and PlayStation 2. On the PlayStation 2, you were able to play Ada Wong's story through the whole game. So that's why people went back and bought it on the PlayStation 2 so they could do that. So if they were to port it over to the Switch, I would like to see, I don't know, like maybe put Ada Wong's story over there, or have like
Maybe like a different type of mercenaries mode too.
Yeah.
Or like one of the mercenaries be like on like an island or something too. Or you could play I forget the Spanish name.
So you're saying Capcom needs to do something that's not a cash grab?
Yeah.
AKA I am 8-bit N64 or Super Nintendo and NES releases.
Probably not.
Yeah, but I'm just saying, like, that happens so much now, though.
In the back?
Yeah.
That was great.
What you were just saying kind of made me think of, I have this game here that I brought to give back to my friend. It's Final Fantasy Fables Chocobo's Dungeon on the Wii.
Yes.
And because I borrowed this from a friend, like maybe a month before they announced the Switch version. And so I've been holding on to it ever since to give it back to him since I got the Switch version. And it kind of makes me think, does the Switch version devalue the Wii version as much, or does it bring renewed interest, do you think, into collecting this version?
So I would absolutely say in terms of Wii U re-releases, it did devalue the Wii U game. Like Hello Kitty Cruisers is now no longer a rare game on the Wii U. When it comes to stuff, when you go back 2 generations like the Wii, I'm not sure if it would devalue it because it's now you have a nostalgia of that older system with the gimmicks of the waggle controls and everything, which did they use that with the Joy-Con waggle?
I don't think so.
Yeah.
It's a mystery dungeon type game, kind of like
Yeah.
Pokemon ones.
That's what I'm saying. So when you have a weird gimmick like you would, like because they overly used that gimmick on the original Wii, I don't think it's going to necessarily devalue it as much. Just like I don't see Resident Evil 4 devaluing the GameCube one because GameCube is hot right now for collectors.
Oh yeah.
So like it ain't gonna devalue a GameCube, but would it devalue a Wii U version? I think so.
Yeah.
I think so because then it's no longer there's only X amount of copies of Hello Kitty Cruisers, which isn't a great game as it is. Now there's a Switch version too. We don't need to spend X amount of dollars because it's no longer an exclusive thing.
It'll just bring down the price in collecting.
When it comes to that generation.
Right.
In the future, I mean, the Wii U might be the next coming of the Dreamcast or something.
Yeah.
Like, I mean.
Or like the Atari in the 90s, you know?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just interesting to see where things go and how we could maybe, I don't know, predict what the Switch is doing. But I do like that it really feels like retro collecting now, again.
Yeah.
So that's blinding us there. We're on our panel.
Try to put the spotlight on you.
Thanks.
Now I can't see.
I think it's going to be a little tough.
I don't have my shades. I think
it's going to be a little tough trying to have the foresight on what Nintendo's going to do with the Switch.
Yeah.
Because now we have the Switch Lite coming out, which is purely handheld.
I call it the Nintendo No Switch because it doesn't switch at all.
Exactly.
Like it's literally just portable.
Exactly.
And the fact you can't even like do anything, use it with any of that, like the TV mode is just. I don't know if it's not for me, but the fact that my daughter can play it, great.
Yeah.
That's the gimmick that gets me. So I have a second Switch.
So it's kind of like, so are you gonna just kill the 3DS and keep the Switch Lite?
Yeah, that's literally what that is Nintendo putting the nail in the 3DS's coffin.
Yeah.
Like final nail was in
Yeah.
it. And now they're moving toward the Switch holistically. Right. The Switch sales have not slowed down.
No.
I'm just going from year 1, 2017, to year 2, 2018. There's 5 times the amount of games just in year 2.
Oh, yeah.
So, like, my one book that's 300 pages is going to turn into 2 books for the second and third volumes is going to cover the second year. It's going to be insane. And I'm doing 1 to 8 page reviews. I'm not doing small reviews. Who was first?
Except, I don't think the Switch is killing the 3DS as hard as it killed the Wii U because it's not porting over as many 3DS games as they are with the Wii U. They have ported over a few, and there's a few that I'm looking forward to. It's not enough.
I think they should definitely do more 3DS ports as the 3DS starts to be a year dead or 2 years dead.
Sure.
That would be great. Because there are some games on there that would look, I think, especially fine playing it even docked, like Detective Pikachu.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, they did announce a, like, spiritual successor.
Right, the sequel.
Yeah. Like, it's not necessarily a one-for-one port, but it's a spiritual successor.
Right.
I mean, you could think about it. They could do DS, 3DS games in Tate mode, a.k.a.
Yeah.
like that, and then have both layered screens, and that would be something that would be kind of cool. I mean, it would kind of limit you on controls if you didn't take the Joy-Cons off, but they could do that. Now, the other thing is the Switch Lite's also going to kill accessories. So you have the flip grip, right? You can't play that with the new one, obviously. I mean, I'm doing a cool little arcade that's for the Switch, but it's not going to work with the Switch Lite.
Did they say, will it work with a Pro Controller?
Yes, it will work with all Bluetooth controllers.
Okay.
And I think you can use a little adapter, a USB-C adapter, and you can use the USB controllers as well.
Okay, so that's good.
They're at least supporting that.
Yeah.
I mean, otherwise you're not going to even support multiplayer at that point. That'd be kind of weird.
And it doesn't have touchscreen, right? They took that out?
That I'm not sure. They should probably keep that. Nintendo, keep that.
Yeah.
They're listening right
please.
now. But yeah, no, they absolutely should keep that. I haven't heard if they're keeping the touchscreen or not, but I know that they're cutting a lot of costs. The processor's not going to be as good as the new release Switch.
Right.
So the other thing that we're going to see with this is variant consoles now. Nintendo did that with the 3DS, a lot of different themed stuff. We had a couple with the Wii U. We're getting the Tsum Tsum Switch for the regular, but you already see a Pokemon themed console for the Switch Lite right at release.
Well, then there was the Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee variant. There was the Splatoon variant.
Yeah, so I mean, they're going to jump hard on that bandwagon with the Switch Lite, though, because it's $100 cheaper, too. So they're trying to get it more like, we could start collecting these easily. And they know what they're doing. Right. Nintendo knows what they're doing when it comes to that. And, I mean, if they do a Legend of Zelda one, I'm going to be a sucker. And I'll be talking about in the Switch Mania Playcast. Oh, I got my Zelda one now.
Did we call on you yet, Kyle?
No. So I have a question about hidden gem gaming.
Yeah.
Would you consider Fire Emblem to be a hidden gem?
So,
Three Houses is out?
So it would depend on the game. Because certain games that weren't talked about, the original Fire Emblems, maybe. The ones that nobody really was playing or talking about. However, like, it's the series itself is no longer hidden. It's out in the mainstream.
Yeah.
I personally don't like the permadeath. Yeah, and you mentioned Smash, like every character pretty much.
Right.
Yeah. Well, it gives some tension and makes it your actual moves that you play in the game meaningful. So I can 100% agree.
Decisions actually matter.
Yeah, and if they're gone, they're gone, and it affects the story.
Bye,
Felicia.
Felicia.
Evolves.
I think it too easily takes away key parts of a story. If you just make a bad move and it's gone. It's like, wow, I'm going to miss a significant part of the story now.
Yeah, and
that
me being a bit
true.
OCD, that's where I kind of like the option of not having it.
Yeah.
Different characters.
And I actually like having the option, so if you love the permadeath feature, you don't have to use that option.
Right.
Like, I do like that. And that's where I think a lot of the retro modern that you see now, they have the difficulty variants.
Yes.
So have you played Blazing Chrome yet?
Yes.
It's about to be on the Switch. I'm going to double dip, but I played it on Xbox Game Pass, so that's where I was able to play it. So I'm able to like test my Switch games that are coming out, and then I can make a educated decision. I mean, it's literally Contra. It's literally Contra, and it's really cool. It's really fast and frantic. It's hard as heck, but it has a very easy to use continue system, so you can continue on. There's like checkpoints incrementally, just enough to where you make progression.
Yeah.
So whereas back in the day, you'd get game over, you're done. Like unless you put in the 30 lives code, you're pretty much going to have to get real good at that first level over and over again until you can know death.
30 lives, you're not going to make it to new players anyway. So.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a good segue to the Nintendo Switch's online service.
Yeah.
The games, because those.
Yeah.
I utilize. I mean, I'll be honest. I utilize the save features all the time, especially like in Mike Tyson's Punch Out or Punch Out with Mr. Dream.
Do you utilize the unique rewind function that they just added?
I haven't. That to me is a little annoying.
It's a weird rewind function because it's not like you hit the button analog and it like turns it back like a reel. Right. It actually just takes screenshots and you just like pop back like incrementally.
It's like rewinding a DVD.
It's awkward, and I don't quite like it.
Prince of Persia probably got a patent on it or something.
Anytime Legacy, the 1 through 6, you just hold it, rewind, and you go frame by frame to where you didn't die.
Which is cool. Right. It's really cool to watch it too. Sometimes, whereas this one's kind of like awkward, where it just like does a bunch of pictures and you kind of just move over and then continue on.
But I do feel that having like the save feature kind of betters a game in some points, in some instances.
I think it makes it more approachable for casual gamers.
Yeah.
And I think that's a good thing to bring new gamers into the experiences that we had back in the day, which I think is an important thing to do. And then they can obviously still play the original cartridge in an original system and get the same experience.
Exactly.
Now, I'm not one, I don't typically like to upscale. I just like to play my original one in the original TV as intended, because
no filters.
Even when you start upscaling, it's not how I remember it. I like a little TV, I can just play it. That's kind of why I like playing the Switch in handheld mode or Switch in tabletop mode in a little arcade, because it's like my old school TV experience. Like, it's kind of cool.
Right.
And I mean, obviously, you strain your eyes. That's what I always did. That's why I can't see.
Kyle?
I was going to ask, what do you think about the Link's Awakening coming out?
Link's Awakening.
I think it's great.
I mean...
flat out. I think it's great.
I think it's great.
Yeah.
Now, obviously, there was a lot of controversy over the graphical art style at the beginning because it looks like a toy. I personally think it looks really cool. I think that's the best way to actually make the Game Boy graphics kind of work on a modern console, instead of just, repurposing what they did in Link Between Worlds. Instead, they decided to go with a different aesthetic. I mean, it looks like, Link's Barney Rubble face looks a little different, but again, it's going to give it a unique flavor, and people are going to love it, just like Wind Waker back in the day. Yeah. Exactly. This is exactly what we're going to see.
Not my Link.
Yeah, not my Link. And now everybody's like, oh, that's one of the best games ever. Of course it is. Because we were all thinking it, and the vocal minority didn't like it.
Yeah, because of the change. But
I think we should have like an Earthbound crossover, since they can win.
Yeah, it actually does have a lot more like the Earthbound promotional stuff back with the claymation stuff, right?
Oh yeah.
Like in the actual Nintendo Power and in the guide, in the strategy guide for Earthbound, the Snatch.
I said this game stinks.
Yeah. I mean, that's good marketing. I want to buy that game that stinks for my kids, and that's why the parents never bought it, and you get it in dollar bins back in the day. That was classic. It was super cool, and I mean, the one thing that I don't quite dig with Link's Awakening that I've seen is, how do you get the best version of that game available if you're a Zelda collector like me? Like, I mean, I'm a little bit obsessed with Zelda, right? Like, how do I get the best version? Because you have the limited edition that comes with a little book, but in Europe, they have a fancy box that it goes in. There's another one that has, like, a coin keychain looking thing. Like, there's a bunch of different regions, too. You have Asia and Japan and UK, and they all have slightly different versions. And then, like, one of the boxes has, like, 3 icons for ESRB stuff, and I'm like, well, I don't want an icon on it. Or I just want the US one if I'm going to do that. Right. But then we don't get the box.
Yep.
So, and then who's to say which one's going to be unattainable later, like those Nintendo Store things for the Wii, like when you had Hyrule Warriors and Mario Kart 8, where that's basically unattainium at this point. Like you want to pay tons of money.
Right.
And I mean, and what do you think of the hype behind a game like DuckTales Remastered now that you're seeing, where it's like $80 because they said, oh, we're discontinuing it on the eShop.
Yeah.
Like now it's skyrocketing in price. Like
that's something that's definitely It's definitely going to change the landscape of collecting.
Yeah.
And I don't know if maybe even people behind the scenes are pulling strings to make that kind of happen.
I mean, it could be a marketed push on social media. And then they never really intended for it. Maybe they just knew it was going to lapse, and they're like, hey, FYI. And now it's all of a sudden they wanted to drive digital sales, and inherently they just drove the aftermarket sales of used copies of DuckTales remastered.
But I'm just a big proponent on physical collecting.
Yeah.
If I can get it physical, I will get it physical. And like a game like Horizon Chase Turbo, I am clawing to get that physical release because I love that game. I'll stream that game like every night of the week,
I think that's one of the cooler style games that I've seen because it's basically a spiritual successor to a lot of classic Sega
Top
arcade.
Gear.
Yeah, you got Top Gear, but you got a lot of classic Sega arcades too that I used to remember playing, and it's literally that with neon.
Yes.
They all want to throw neon and everything.
Yeah.
And synthwave, which it's just so rad.
Right.
It's just I dig it, and I've literally you just went off. I literally was chatting with like the developers on that because that's the one coolest thing about doing the Switch Mania Playcast with JP has been like I've interviewed developers and publishers, and like they're all about the passion behind what they're doing. It's really crazy to me. Like I never saw that with other generations with like the Wii U or before that. Like I didn't see all the developers so enveloped, and I think it's also helps with the convention culture that we see here too, where they actually come out and show off their products, and you get to see the different aspects behind it.
Right.
And some of the publishers are just as geeky and nerdy as all those collectors are too. They love this stuff just as much as we do.
Right.
Like the guys who are doing Horizon, like you can tell. Like there's little details and things. Like and stuff like this, I'm such a geek that it's like there's a book from the 90s called The Big Book of Nintendo Games. This is the same font. This is the same font. And it's like it's a book where it doesn't even have the art like from a Nintendo game. There's no art from one of those games on the cover here, but it's an art from a classic NES artist.
Yeah.
Like I do little subtle things like that, and you're seeing that with Switch releases, with the Famicom box releases, like Limited Run with their Circle or Curse of the Moon, Circle of the Moon. That would be
with the NES.
That'd be the DS.
Yeah.
But the Circle of the Moon NES box, and it's literally the same dimensions as an NES box once you put this in the slipcase.
Right.
Out of the slipcase, it's a little smaller.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I love that kind of stuff. The attention to detail, the manuals in there. I gotta have that stuff.
I was just going to say, I think that the specific with Nintendo is the soul behind it is, you always have hype with PS4s and everything else. Xbox tries to get there. But I think the soul with the Nintendo, especially with the Switch, is just, it's emerged as a powerhouse, I think.
Oh yeah.
You've got everyone looking at the Switch going like, what can we do for the Switch? What can we turn it into? And then you've got Nintendo just sort of leading the pack with, man, we're just going to put tons of money and get as many games on it as we can that people love. And I think it's made a huge difference to how people look at the Switch.
And what's funny too is people always pride Sony on all their exclusives.
Yeah.
But really, Nintendo is the exclusive powerhouse.
Well, first party Nintendo games are legendary.
Yeah.
That's why it's a first day buy when a new Zelda comes out.
Absolutely, yeah.
And so to me too, it's interesting that we might be in because I was mentioning the developers and the publishers, we might be in the perfect storm because the Switch has cartridges.
Right.
We got cartridges back, the little cartridges that we have, so that's a collectible aspect. And one universal thing that I've seen when I've talked to all the developers is that they've always wanted to put out a Nintendo game. Like whether they grew up on the Super Nintendo 64, NES, they're like, I've always wanted to do a Nintendo game.
Right.
And they never said that about the Wii U. I think it's because of the cartridge-based medium that just gives you that classic feel.
Right.
And then you got the manuals that you can throw in it. You got the fancy art, which now they can put on the inside if they're not being lazy.
Right.
And the one thing that gets me, it disheartens me, is when I talk to certain companies and they did a full-blown release in GameStop, like Cat's Quest, and they're like, man, I really wish we would have went with a limited company and got a full comprehensive release.
Right.
Because theirs, if you look in Cat, it's white on nothing on the inside. There's no manual. It's just the cartridge sitting in there, and it makes you just feel like one and done release.
Cheap, yeah.
Cheap release. And they did that so they could probably release it cheaper.
Right.
But in the end, I would have rather paid the Switch tax and got a manual and printed on the inside of the cover, so it's holistically better.
Do you know if the Sega Genesis collection that came out for the Switch came with a poster?
I didn't get that yet because it's a main release. I've been waiting until it comes down in price.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because I have it for the PS4 and it came with a poster, and I wonder if they put the same effort into the Switch, because the Switch wasn't the day and date as PS4 and Xbox.
Okay, yeah, because that would be interesting if they cut out like the goodies in there, because the Switch is all about having cool stuff in there.
Yeah.
And, I mean, the other thing that I need to get a copy of is the Atari Flashback, because it has everything on one cartridge too, whereas it was multiple discs for the other system.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought Nick House's Cave Story Plus release is really awesome. Where it came with a mini disc and an entire soundtrack for the original.
And it fits in the box, yeah. And that's actually a unique one. So when I did research for the book, where on the back it shows like how many players, and I'm reiterating that in the book spread. You can see that on the Kickstarter preview page. I put some spreads up there. That game specifically with DLC now is cooperative, and it says one player on it. It's now a cooperative game via DLC. They added it as a feature, so technically the back of the box is wrong.
Right.
Technically. And I don't know if they're going to redo another release. I don't think Nicholas does that. So, like, are they going to do a definitive Cave Story again? Because you mentioned games getting re-released. Cave Story has been released a lot of times premiumly. Like, the enhanced 3DS version, for example, that's the only version of that game that's gotten that type of sheen. Whereas then they went back to the retro releases later again and kind of didn't do that.
Retro collecting on the Switch, with variant, or I wouldn't say variant, but like misprints.
Yeah.
Like that, it's wrong. And
Darksiders, Black Side, where they just literally forgot a layer when they sent it to the printer.
So those things will be collectible.
You think so?
I think so.
Think so?
Especially the Darksiders. Because it looks good with the game, and it kind of makes it stand out a little bit. But I think those things are going to be collectible.
Okay.
I think so.
It depends, and it depends on which one had more release. So if the red version, when they fixed it, if that has less, it would inherently be more collectible because there's less.
You got to
copies.
look at it like
we're talking millions versus the couple thousand that a limited run games puts out, though. Too.
You have like the gray cartridge, Legend of Zelda, and then you have the gold cartridge, Legend of Zelda.
And the gray cartridge, came out differently.
And then you've also got the two variant Metroid cartridges. You got the yellow and then
the greatest hits release that they did before they called it greatest hits, and they used cool alternate art.
Yeah, so those things are always
going to be because I love it.
Alternates or misprints are always going to be collectible.
And then like removing a license from Mike Tyson's Punch Out to Punch Out. Yeah.
And apparently he had no idea who Mr. Dream was.
Of course he did.
You see that on Twitter?
Yeah. I mean, he's Mike Tyson. He's not paid attention to video games.
Yeah. Who's this Mr. Dream?
I am the dream.
Yeah.
But I think it's we're kind of in a golden age when it comes to retro style games. Like even the newer games. So we just did an episode on Tiny Barbarian DX. That game was so awesome.
Oh, yeah.
And like I could beat the first episode. Second episode started to kick my butt. There's 5 episodes in that game. Like the 4th episode is one of the coolest ones, and there's not even screenshots of that online. You actually play as the girl, the girl you save, and there's like a whole bunch of retro references throughout that entire game. There's Metal Gear references,
right?
Metal Gear Solid 2 and episode 4, and like I didn't even catch it.
Yeah, and then you've got games like Shovel Knight too. Kind of were like
Shovel Knight might have been one of the standard bearers, set the bar real high on the Wii U. And I mean, that's about to get a physical release where they waited until they had all the DLC done to put it on a cart. And I like that.
It took them a while.
A long time. But they're still working on it. How many years later?
4 or 5.
4 or 5 years, they're still working on that same game, which here's the thing. I'm not complaining. Every time they put out a new version, there's enough cool mechanics to draw me in.
Exactly.
And like the first one plays like DuckTales. The next one will play a little bit differently when you had the all the different
Spectre
bombs
Knight.
that you can throw with Spectre Knight too, where you have the dash. That's reminding me a lot of like a combination of like Strider and stuff like that. Yeah. And so it's like it gives the whole game a new feel, and you still have some of the same level layouts, but it's
and now like too there are rough or bad retro style games on the Switch. There's one game called like Sagili. It's like you're a little chubby knight, and it kind of looks like Mario, but you fart on everything, and it's like $2, and it's like 10 minutes long. And I bought it because I was like, let's see what this is about.
That's a good thing to use your gold points on when you get with your games, is like the little dollar games.
Yeah.
I got a game called Laser Kitty Pew Pew or Pow Pow. My daughter and I play and just shoot lasers as a kid. Like, it's insane.
Yeah.
And it's worth $1. Like, absolutely great. Not worth a physical release.
We got like Doom, the Doom 1, 2, and 3 on the Switch
Which
now,
is awesome.
Which is great.
That is going to get a physical. I've heard rumors.
Oh, really?
Not confirmation, but I've heard rumors.
Well, shit.
I hope it does.
As soon as I heard that it was released, I was like, oh, okay. Thanks.
I mean, it's Bethesda. They'll likely milk that cash cow. They'll probably put out a big box of it or something and put John Romero's head on a spike in it, too, like the Sigil release. Yeah. Because I definitely supported that PC release.
Oh, yeah.
What's up?
The only problem with those Doom ports is that they force you to be online to play them.
That's an issue.
You know what?
Did they patch it yet?
I played it at the airport yesterday, and I was not online, and it worked.
So they must have patched it.
Yeah.
Because I know the initial they definitely did.
You had to have a Bethesda account.
Could have sneaked through the whole thing. There's a YouTube channel about game display, and they found a way to get through it.
Mm-hmm.
Like going to airplane mode.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting to see that kind of stuff too, because there's a lot of reviewers out there that are almost like the law. So they reviewed Troll and I and showed that stutter, but when I rebooted my system, that stutter went away. So why didn't they just reboot their system to test?
Yeah.
Like, I've done a lot of beta testing for retro, like, aftermarket games. So, like, I know, like, if it's glitchy, like, well, first thing you want to do is reboot your system. Maybe there's something weird going on.
Right.
And then, like, that game's overly glitchy, though. Like, there's so much craziness. It's not as bad as everybody says, but it's bad.
It's rough.
But, like, yeah, it's interesting, too, because then you have, like, that where it's like, well, you can't play Doom unless it's online, but then they patched it. So, but that Game Explain, I don't know if they've done a revamp yet, but they've also had 1 million hits on that video or something, you know what I mean? Right. So, it's out there.
I mean, as of yesterday, it works.
Yeah. So. It's good to know, though.
Yeah.
And I do like that they're putting Doom on everything. Like,
oh, yeah.
That's the first thing you see when they start emulating and hacking systems. They throw Doom on it.
Like, I want Doom on my refrigerator. I want it on my toilet.
Go to that subreddit.
He wants toilet Doom. Final Doom in the toilet.
Yeah.
I mean, and that's the thing is, like, I think that we're going to see a lot of modern things. The one thing I really hate about modern retro is the roguelites.
Yes.
I am not a fan.
Yes.
And in all reality, I feel like that's the modern way to make a game old school. That's the way to add difficulty, but they call it the roguelite thing, and I just not a fan. Just give me some lives, let me go through the game. Don't tease me with progression and take that progression away, because that's what it's doing.
Everything's got to be a Metroidvania nowadays.
And Metroidvanias. I don't mind Metroidvanias if they're done well. Some of them go a little bit on the nose, but like an Oxygen Verge I loved, whereas Hollow Knight went on really long.
Yes.
Really hard.
Really hard. So like that hits the Dark Souls of modern too, where they try to make everything like a Dark Souls where it has to kill you, and then they add roguelite to it, so you lose all your progression. And then you have a game like we played on the Playcast called Tumbleseed, where you're playing ice cold beer, you fall into the hole 3 times, and then you lose all your progression every time. You can never get to the top, until you master it. But you get so frustrated trying to. I only had a week to play it, and I'm like, I might not play it again. Yeah. It looks so good, and it makes you want to because you forget. Mm-hmm. You forget. And then I went back to it, and I'm like, oh, yeah, this frustrates me. I love the ice cold beer arcade machine. It's so cool. And it's just like, and those developers loved that so much. That was a tribute to that game. But it's just the way the mechanics worked. I kept dying. And if the first mountain was okay, the second mountain, kid gloves are off, I can't do it. Yeah. Like, it's just beyond my skill set.
Right.
And some people, I bet they're like, yeah, I can go through that game, no problem. Not me.
Have you guys heard of the game called A Robot Named Fight?
A robot?
That's amazing.
No.
A robot?
It's like a procedurally generated Super Metroid.
Oh.
And it looks very similar to Super Metroid, but it's also roguelite. So every time you die, it resets the entire game.
Right.
So, but eventually, if you die enough, you'll get a save station or something like that and be able to respawn in your same seat.
Yeah, and I guess once you get certain items during your playthrough, you have the ability to, like, I guess get those items.
See, I might actually like that.
It's the closest. It's like playing Super Metroid all over again. But there's plenty of places where if you die, you'll come back. But if you die, you get a new world. Each run's like an hour 15 or so. And it's like I think $10-15 in the eShop right now. I don't think they're ever going to get a physical release. It's just one guy. It's just one developer doing it.
The enemies are kind of like Doom
well, all I have to say is if my Switch collector book does extremely well, I know how much it costs to do physical production. That might be on a backward goal. Like if this whole series does well, I'm going to pick up some games that are deserving and give it a release. It won't be... Huh?
A robot named Fight.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. A robot named Fight. We'll have to make sure we check that one out. That might be a future playcast too for
It's just a rad name in general.
Yeah, it just sounds cool, and I haven't heard of it. And so that's another thing to think about and talk about is how many games are we missing out on because the eShop is kind of not easy to navigate, and it's full now. Back when it started, it worked out well. I would go on there every couple days, look at the new stuff, favorite what I want. Now I can't even get through my favorites list, and it's maxed out. My friends list is maxed out on the Switch, but it's like I can't find new stuff. I'm buddies with the guys who run MegaCast Studios, and they have a game Coffee Crisis on the Switch, and I didn't even know. And I'm like, how did I not know this? We're friends. Yeah, I was like, how do we not know this? Like, we're friends, and like, I didn't even see it on the Switch.
Yeah, the eShops. It's going to be. I don't know. I don't think they'll fix it for a long time.
Well, they did allow you to sort in your games menu when you view it all now, so maybe they'll allow us to sort maybe by genre or something. Yeah, they got to give us a bone somewhere. I mean,
start using meta tags, I think.
Yeah.
I'm interested in this.
Right.
Like Metroidvania, Zelda-like. Like that's.
I do think it's pretty rad that they have like the little section under the search bar that says like games with demos.
I do like that.
That's cool.
They need to do that with meta tags. And that would just be something easy to do.
Right.
And then you could literally just start searching and you can start finding games that are like what you like. If they tag it as... Now, if somebody tags it as everything, that's where Nintendo would need a moderator to kind of limit that or only allow so many tags per game.
Yeah.
And then that way it doesn't overflow because I would literally add every tag to my game if I could. Like now you're going to find it every time. And then it makes it irrelevant. So they limit that for people like me who would abuse it.
Yeah.
But that's the thing, though, is I think that's a great idea. And, I mean, you think Nintendo has people there working that would want people to find games and buy more games that are relevant. Like, it just sounds weird to me.
Yeah, it's just betterment for the community.
And I mean, it is very, very convoluted right now in the eShop, and it's kind of sad because you see. But it also, for us as gamers, is allowing games to go real cheap because you can search by best deal. If they do a big deal, we're able to get games for a couple bucks.
Yeah,
and then you see your limited release of a game. Now it's $2.
I will say
$30 for it physically.
The Switch does a good job, right? Like if before you unlock it, it has the little news panels. It does tell you like, hey, this game's coming out. This game's coming out.
Which is good.
Yeah, which is nice.
Of course, me having the Japanese account because I wanted to download some games back in the day. I don't even have time to now. Now I have Japanese game like titles too, and you can't turn it off. So I have I always get double tapped with everything, so it makes it unusable for me.
Are they still doing the streaming over there in Japan? Because I know you could stream Resident Evil Biohazard over there.
I don't know.
We can't do that here.
Yeah, no, we can't do it here, but I don't know.
They had a playable version.
Phantasy Star 2 and Assassin's Creed Origin?
Yeah.
Or
Odyssey.
Yeah, one of them.
Yeah.
So the other thing I'd like to see, though, for these retro-style games is, at least indie in general, and so we got Mario Kart, or not Mario Kart, but Mario Tennis Aces right now for a week. Why can't we, in 2 weeks, for Switch Online members, get an indie game highlight?
Right.
Like, let's start getting some indie games from the eShop, and if you want the full game, download it. Like, we need that. Like, that sounds like a perfect idea, just to... Every week we could have a new game that we get to play a time trial on. That's a Nintendo thing to do instead of just giving it to you for free like every other online system does.
Yeah,
they give you a free one,
and that just devalues when you get it for free. It just diminishes it.
But giving it a time trial, I'm okay with that. And you know what? If you get your play's worth, you actually played it number one for a week, and if you got your play's worth, you don't need to play it anymore. And it actually values the Nintendo Online service better than just getting a slew of NES games.
And that could create like a better review system system as well.
Yeah.
For like the eShop.
Well, yeah, it's funny you mention that because they had like a review system for like 1 or 2 days.
Yeah.
And they took it down saying they were going to fix it. And ever since then, there's been no review system.
Yeah.
So what was the issue with the review systems?
They didn't say.
Yeah.
Like just too many
Pulled real quick.
too many lewd pictures on it and stuff. Like that was literally the funniest thing on Mario Maker 2. We did it.
Oh my
When we
gosh.
did it, like the first comments, there was definitely a lewd picture immediately, and I was
Yeah.
like, I'm not flagging that.
Yep.
That's hilarious.
Same thing with the Super Smash Bros. The
Level creator.
remake.
Yeah.
First thing, you get a lewd picture. It's just like without a doubt, somebody's going to be able to draw something on there. They're going to. But like, it's just ridiculous.
If you can, they will.
So we're gonna have to wrap things up.
We're over.
Yeah, we're always gonna be over time until
yeah.
they kick us out. So, anyways, again, you can find me anywhere as Hagen's Alley on social media. I have HagensAlley.com, which is where I put the Switch Mania Playcast. All my books are available through my bookstore that are available. Anything that I have limited, like I have some limited Super Nintendo releases that I did. I released 30 because I had like 23 backers, and I released a couple extras. I bring them with me to conventions. So here I have Sydney Hunter, which you can get as a legitimate Super Nintendo release with the glossy box, which their release from Blaze Pro was like matte. Megacast Studios' Little Medusa, which is a legit Super Nintendo box. I did the same template for all three, so it's consistent with the Super Nintendo releases. And then Socks the Cat Rocks the World with the actual promo art. So I brought, I brought 2 of each. I think already one of the socks is gone, but I do them for whatever I charge them. It's like a normal CIB release. It's full boxes, and I bought the items from the developer. So I do that kind of stuff too. And it's HagensAlley.com, and then you can view the Switch Collector Volume 1 at Switchopedia.com, like encyclopedia. That's where you can find that.
Switchopedia. And you can find me again on all social media platforms at nerdynick_91. I'm active on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. I've got a Facebook page where I do my main streams, and that's sporadically throughout the week, every night, just about every night. And then I do a midweek show called Nights with Nerdy Nick, where it's more of a sit-down, what's up, my people kind of talk. We talk about comics, movie news, game releases, and whatnot. I just wrapped up my summer series, Summer Nights with Nerdy Nick, where I throw it back to be a little more rad, like 80s. I'm all about, the Burt Reynolds Magnum PI look during the summertime. And you can find me on YouTube at nerdynick_91.
All right, thanks everybody for coming to the
panel. Yeah, thank you.
See you on the floor. See you on the floor.